Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Conversation Corner. I'm Emily, your host with all the tips and tricks to make your life a little easier.
And I'm John, your friendly co-host, here to add a bit of humor and real-life relatability to today's conversation.
So let's start with a question. Do you ever feel like you're stuck in a loop of procrastination? You know what you need to do, but you just can't seem to get started? Maybe it's that report you've been avoiding or the laundry piling up in the corner.
Oh, I've been there. Laziness is a sneaky thing. It's not always about being physically tired. It's often about feeling unmotivated, overwhelmed, or even a little lost. And sometimes you don't even realize it's happening until half the day has gone by and you've accomplished, well, nothing.
Exactly, and here's the thing. Laziness isn't necessarily about being irresponsible or unproductive by nature. It's about hitting a mental or emotional block that keeps you from moving forward. But don't worry. Today we're going to help you break out of that cycle.
That's right. In this episode, we're breaking down the science of laziness and sharing 3 proven strategies to help you overcome it. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical tools to boost your productivity and achieve your goals. And trust me, these tips are as simple as they are effective.
Plus, we'll share some relatable stories, interactive exercises, and practical takeaways to get you inspired. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's dive into the topic of how to stop being lazy. Let's kick things off by addressing the elephant in the room. Why do we get lazy in the first place? It's easy to label ourselves as lazy, but that doesn't really solve the problem, does it? So, let's dig deeper.
You're absolutely right, Emily. Laziness isn't just about not caring or being inherently unmotivated. Often it's linked to deeper emotions like fear. And here's where it gets tricky. It's not just fear of failure, it can also be fear of success.
That's such a great point, John. For instance, imagine you've been asked to lead a big project at work. On the surface, it might seem exciting, but deep down, you might be worried about all the responsibility that comes with success. And what if you fail? Those fears can stop you in your tracks before you even get started.
And then there's the classic feeling of overwhelm. You've got 100 things on your to-do list, and instead of tackling them one by one, you freeze. Your brain says, "This is too much. Let's avoid it altogether."
Exactly. And here's an interesting fact. Procrastination, which we often associate with laziness, is actually about emotional regulation, not time management. Studies show that when we procrastinate, we're not trying to be inefficient. We're trying to avoid the negative feelings associated with the task at hand.
That's fascinating. It's like your brain is saying, "This feels uncomfortable, so let's do something easier instead," like scrolling through social media or binge-watching a show.
Exactly. But the good news is that once you understand what's happening, you can take steps to change it. Laziness doesn't have to define you. It's simply a signal that something needs to shift, whether it's your mindset, environment, or approach.
That's so encouraging. So, for all our listeners out there, if you've been feeling stuck or lazy, know that it's not a character flaw. It's just a signal.
By the end of this episode, you'll have the tools to identify what's holding you back, strategies to boost your productivity, and even a few hacks to keep you motivated long-term.
And don't worry, we'll keep it fun and relatable. No judgment here. Shall we get started?
Let's do it. So, John, let me ask you, when you're feeling lazy, what's the first thing you usually do?
Honestly, I justify it. I tell myself, "Oh, I'll get to it in 5 minutes." And then 5 minutes turns into an hour. By then, I'm either napping or binge-watching TV.
That's so relatable, and it's actually a really common trap called the 5-minute lie. You convince yourself that you're only postponing something briefly, but it often snowballs into full-blown procrastination. Why we procrastinate.
Let's start by digging a little deeper into the problem. Why do we procrastinate? What's really going on behind the scenes when we put things off?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, fear is a big factor. But another major culprit is perfectionism. When you feel like something has to be done perfectly, it can feel too daunting to even start. You think, if I can't do this perfectly, why bother doing it at all?
And that's such a trap, because perfectionism is basically setting yourself up for failure. No one is perfect, and expecting yourself to be is just unrealistic.
Exactly. And then there's the classic excuse. I work better under pressure. How many times have you heard that, John?
Oh, too many to count. And let me tell you, it's a myth. Sure, some people thrive in high pressure situations, but that doesn't mean procrastination is the best way to get there. More often than not, it just adds unnecessary stress.
All right, now that we've talked about the problem, let's get to the good stuff. Solutions. We're going to share 3 proven strategies to stop being lazy and start being productive.
Strategy number 1. Break tasks into micro tasks.
Yes, this one is a game changer. When you look at a big task, it can feel overwhelming. But when you break it into smaller steps, it suddenly feels manageable. For example, instead of saying, I need to clean the house, start with, I'll clean 1 drawer.
And once you complete that small step, you'll feel a sense of accomplishment that motivates you to keep going. It's all about building momentum.
Exactly. Now, strategy number 2, the 2-minute rule. This is one of my favorites. The idea is simple. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. It clears out those small, annoying tasks that pile up, like responding to an email or tidying your desk.
I love this one. It's amazing how much mental space you free up when you get those little things out of the way.
And finally, strategy number 3, reward yourself. After completing a task, give yourself a small treat, like watching an episode of your favorite show or enjoying a snack. This creates a positive association with productivity.
Time management techniques.
I do. One of my go-to strategies is the Pomodoro technique. It's simple. You work for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. After 4 cycles, you take a longer break. It's great for staying focused without burning out.
I've tried that, and it's amazing how much you can get done in just 25 minutes. Plus, knowing a break is coming makes it easier to push through distractions.
Another method I love is time blocking. It's when you schedule specific tasks for certain times of the day. For example, you might block off 9:10 a.m. for emails and 10:11 a.m. for a big project.
That's smart. It's like giving your tasks a dedicated space on your calendar so they don't spill over into the rest of your day.
Exactly. And it helps you avoid multitasking, which studies show can actually make you less productive. Creating a productivity-friendly environment.
Let's switch gears and talk about your workspace. If your environment is cluttered or full of distractions, it's much harder to focus.
Absolutely. Your space should inspire productivity, not stress. Start by decluttering your desk, keeping only the essentials within reach.
And let's not forget about lighting. Good lighting, preferably natural light, can make a huge difference in how energized you feel.
Another tip is to eliminate distractions. Put your phone on silent, close unnecessary tabs on your computer, and let people around you know when you're working.
That's so important. When I'm trying to focus, I even use noise-canceling headphones to block out background noise.
Staying motivated. Let's face it, even with the best strategies, staying motivated can be tough. That's why it's important to know your why.
Your why? You mean the reason you're doing something?
Exactly. When you have a clear purpose, it's easier to push through tough moments. For example, if you're learning a new skill, remind yourself how it will benefit your career or personal growth.
That's powerful. And you know what else helps? Celebrating small wins. Every time you complete a task, no matter how small, take a moment to acknowledge it.
Absolutely. Positive reinforcement keeps you motivated to keep going. Productivity tools and apps.
Let's talk tech. Are there any apps or tools you recommend for staying productive?
Definitely. For task management, I love Trello and Asana. They're great for organizing projects and tracking progress. For personal productivity, apps like Todoist and Google Keep are simple and effective.
I've also heard good things about Habitica. It gamifies your tasks, so you earn rewards for completing them.
That's a fun one. And if you're trying to minimize distractions, apps like Forest and Focus Will can help you stay on track.
Building long-term habits.
The final step to beating laziness is to build habits that make productivity a part of your routine. Start small and be consistent.
For example, if you want to start exercising, commit to just 5 minutes a day. Once it becomes a habit, you can gradually increase the time.
That's a great example, and remember, it takes about 21 days to form a habit, so be patient with yourself.
And don't forget to track your progress. Seeing how far you've come can be incredibly motivating.
Let's review some of the words used in today's episode. Our first word is procrastination, meaning delaying or putting off tasks that need to be done. Example: I was guilty of procrastination all day until I finally started my assignment.
Next is momentum, meaning the force that keeps something moving once it is started. Example: once I cleaned my desk, I had the momentum to organize the whole room.
Another great word is a technique, meaning a method or way of doing something effectively. Example: the Pomodoro technique helps me manage my time better.
And finally, we have the motivation, meaning the drive or desire to achieve something. Example: finding my motivation to exercise was easier once I set small goals.
Here's another practical tip. Write down your top 3 priorities every morning. Don't worry about doing everything. Just focus on those 3 tasks. You'll feel so much more accomplished by the end of the day.
And if you're struggling to get started, set a timer for just 10 minutes. Commit to working for those 10 minutes, and you'll often find it easier to keep going once you've started.
All right, listeners, now it's your turn. Take a moment to think about one task you've been putting off.
Now let's break it into the smallest possible step. What's one thing you can do right now to get started? Maybe it's writing the first sentence of an email or organizing one folder on your computer.
And once you complete that step, don't forget to reward yourself. Celebrate the small wins. It makes a huge difference. All right, let's recap today's tips. Start small. Break tasks into manageable steps. Use time management techniques like the Pomodoro technique. Create a productivity-friendly workspace. Stay motivated by remembering your why. Leverage productivity tools and apps. Build habits through consistency and patience.
Thanks for joining us on Conversation Corner. We hope these tips help you stop procrastinating and start achieving your goals.
If you found this episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you have your own tips for staying productive, share them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, remember, laziness is temporary, but the rewards of productivity last forever. Keep striving, keep thriving, and we'll catch you later.
Bye, everyone.